Hi everyone, my name is Jenna Scaccia and welcome back to another video. We're tackling the Britney Spears Free Britney movement that's going on right now, part 2. If you haven't seen part 1 yet, I'll link it above, below, everywhere. So I recommend checking out that to get an overview of what's going on. Today though, we are not talking about conspiracy theories and TV shows related and anything like that. We are just going straight into news, what's happening, new developments, and also some things that I feel like haven't actually been touched on that much in any other videos, stories, TikToks, anything. Let's get talking about this. Just a heads up, my computer is right in front of me, so if I'm looking down at all, I'm reading the document that I made up. In my last video, there were some questions asking about clarification about what a conservatorship is. Conservatorship. It's a really hard word to say, so I'm gonna start calling it C-ship in this video. Yeah. Just an overview for what a C-ship is and what's going on with Britney Spears related to that, because that pretty much is like where everything starts to stem out of. I found a post posted by Saint Hoax on Instagram. I'll include screenshots of it and also have it linked down below. Side note, also everything I'm talking about, the articles are linked down below so you can do your own research and come to your own conclusions. I thought that this was a very nice and concise way of explaining it. It's a multi-part post. As far as the conservatorship goes, they basically wrote that Britney Spears is a 38-year-old woman who is not allowed to do the following without her father's permission, or he can legally lock her up into a mental health facility. Things that she can't do are leave her home, go for a walk, drive a car, vote, get married, have children, hire her own lawyer, see her children. She does not have access to her own money and she can't spend it as she pleases. She's not allowed to speak about this conservatorship publicly. She also only has 30% custody of her kids, can't do interviews that aren't scripted, and all final cuts need to be approved by her father. She has no control over her career. She can't use social media unmonitored, and she cannot have contact with anyone unless they're fully properly vetted. Basically, she has no rights. She's an adult woman who's being controlled because of dementia, is what her father wrote on the court documents, and her mental health situation that occurred after her breakdown and divorce that happened in 2007 and 2008. An example of how this applies to her life, besides, you know, like the obvious, she can't spend her own money, she has no control, she has no freedoms, hashtag free Britney. Britney told a probate investigator that she wanted to have a kid with her long-term boyfriend, Sam, but it's against her conservatorship to be able to have kids. Reportedly, according to Us Weekly, a source came forward saying that her father, Jamie, has always been against Britney getting pregnant and having kids. So even though she wanted to have a kid with her boyfriend, she is not allowed to. Under this C-ship that was filed, originally Britney was being controlled by her father, Jamie, and an attorney, Andrew Wallet. Jamie controlled every aspect of Britney's life, overseeing everything, and the attorney, Andrew, did more of the financial stuff, the trust, all of her assets and investments. That was until Andrew Wallet stepped down from his role in March of 2019, even though in November of that year, he had just gotten a raise to $426,000 a year. That's a lot of money. And as far as like a timetable goes, it was in January that Britney was sent to a mental health facility, the One Star facility, against her will, even though the story that they originally told to the press was that she decided to go. In March was when this Wallet attorney, conveniently named Wallet for handling finances, decided to step down, and he wanted it done ASAP, which is kind of odd and suspicious. He never gave an exact actual reason for his resignation. It seems odd to me, but... And then moving forward, her father ended up stepping down too, temporarily, after there was an altercation with one of Britney's sons and him. In September of 2019, the sons were granted temporary restraining order against their father, which was filed by Britney's ex and their father, Kevin. The report is that supposedly Jamie got into an argument with Sean Preston, who was 13 years old at the time. It ended up being that Sean Preston locked himself in a room and that Jamie broke into the room and then was physically shaking Sean, which is, putting his hands on a child is uncalled for. And even though Sean was not hurt, thankfully, he did feel unsafe and was very literally shaken up. The restraining order was filed, and it was determined that Jamie is not able to go near his grandchildren for 3 years. I've also heard other reports in the past about Jamie having a temper or being abusive. There's been allegations thrown around like that. Jamie Spears, the father, ended up appointing Jody Montgomery, who was Britney's care manager, to assume this temporary position and fill his spot in the C-ship. It was only supposed to be until January 20th, 2020, but then she continues to be in this position and hold temporary control over it. It keeps getting pushed back because of the pandemic. Something that just came out in the news, it happened on this Monday, so July 13th. Britney Spears' mom, Lynn, has just requested to be considered a interested person in decisions about her finances and matters pertaining to the trust that holds the majority of Britney's assets and money. If this does go through and this is approved, then this is the first change that has been made to the trust in many years, and it is Britney's mom making a step forward to wanting to know more information and be involved, which is progress, because I haven't heard much about her mom or her sister saying anything about the situation. I definitely feel like us talking about it and the attention being drawn to it hopefully sparked her in this decision, or maybe this was something in the works. I'm not sure. The last report that her mom had filed was in May of 2019. She filed a request with the courts to be, quote, updated on the details of her daughter's conservatorship, which makes it really sound like she has not been able to know the details of what is going on at all within this conservatorship because her ex-husband, Jamie, is controlling everything and has say over everything, even what she finds out. Now I want to touch on another thing that recently came out. I remember seeing this in a TikTok that I mentioned in my last video. It's a letter that Britney wrote that is all said in the third person, which felt kind of odd to someone without context of what the letter is. But 4 days ago, the photographer that Britney used to work with came forward saying that Britney wrote this letter and gave it to him to read to the public, and that's why it was written in the third person. This photographer's name is Andrew Gallery. I will include his TikTok below and show little clips of it.
What's up, everybody? I've been seeing all the stuff about the Free Britney movement, and I feel compelled to say something about this now. I used to work with Britney back in 2008-9 during her comeback. My name's Andrew Gallery. I was an in-house director and photographer for her. And in that time, she gave me a letter that she wanted me to read to you guys. And I'm putting it right up here behind me because before I got a chance to read it to you guys, the conservatorship took it and destroyed it. So before they destroyed it, I did make a copy. So here it is. After reading Kevin's article in People, I was amazed at how a lot of the focus was on Britney, their mother, in order to sell a story for People magazine.
It was like a script that she wanted to become public knowledge, but he was under contract before and was unable to say anything about it. He went on his TikTok and he read us the letter, and he told a little bit of the story of how he knows Britney and what that relationship is. He posted like a 4 or 5 part TikTok reading the letter and talking about it, but let me just sum it up real quick. This letter touches on her divorce with Kevin and how it was a messy situation. She completely acknowledges that she did spin out of control. A quote is that the people controlling her life had made $3 million this year, is what she shared. $3 million the people controlling her life have made? That is a ton of money, and that was in 2008, so I can't even imagine the years following how much money they were making because of this conservatorship. The next line was scratched out by Britney, but you can still sort of see what it says. It reads, "If she speaks up, she is threatened." And then it goes on to say the conservators threaten to take her kids away if she speaks up about what is going on. She also says that this can go on for a while because as long as people are getting paid, it's not going to stop. This letter and the information in this letter confirms a lot of what the situation is and what's going on. Britney being unable to speak up and the consequences that would happen, the financial gain that all these people on her team are getting from being a part of this. Other people are really benefiting from her having absolutely no freedom. Now moving forward, in the Chicks in the Office episode that I listened to, the podcast that I talked about a little bit in my last video, I mentioned that it was said that there was a judge who has been accused of corruption, and so I wanted wanted to investigate that a little bit more and see what I could find related to that. And I definitely found some questionable things, so let's talk about that. There's two main judges I'm going to talk about. The first judge I'm going to talk about is Judge, I don't know how to say her first name, honestly. Aviva? Is it like Aviva, like Lululemon Aviva K. Bob? I'm not sure. I'm going to call her Judge Bob. One of the cases that Judge Bob ruled in was talked about in a Rolling Stone article in 2009. It was over Britney's ex-manager, Sam I'll put his name, I don't know how to say anybody's names, but whatever, I'll put them on the screen. Over her ex-manager Sam and a lawyer, and then also touches on her ex-boyfriend, the paparazzi. They had been speaking out against the conservatorship, and what eventually ended up happening was that a restraining order was placed against them, which is what Jamie Spears wanted to happen. And in this article it reads, during testimony in this case, the judge heard an alleged voicemail from Britney Spears, in which she asks for help, but the Los Angeles Superior Court judge, Aviva K. Bob, ultimately sided with Jamie Spears. And she said that never before in the history of the world has a restraining order been issued against someone who merely responded to cries for help. That quote from Judge Bob really seems weird to me. Been issued against someone who merely responded to cries for help. Sam and her ex-boyfriend had been speaking out against Jamie Spears and the conservatorship, I believe, and the judge is siding with Jamie Spears and Jamie's in the right, is what I'm concluding from that statement, and it just really rubs me the wrong way. And also looking at it from a distance now in 2020, it really, like, it makes me question this judge's judgment a little bit. Actually, like a lot of it, but yeah. What ended up happening is that the former manager and lawyer were told to not contact, threaten, or act on behalf of the pop star until 2012. These two men and the ex-boyfriend paparazzi were accused of attempting to overturn Jamie Spears' conservatorship over his daughter. This article also goes on to talk about how Sam's lawyer said that Spears' attorney, Joel Boxer, admitted that the restraining order request was unusual, quote, but argued it was necessary in order to protect this singer from, quote, people who I think are fairly characterized as predators. The attorney is saying that these people are predators, but they're predators because they said that the conservatorship is a misuse of power, as it normally only applies to people mentally incapable of making their own decisions. As Britney is currently on tour performing to thousands on a nightly basis, she therefore seems competent enough to speak on her own behalf. Which is such a fair statement and so, like, duh. That's what we're all talking about now in 2020. This was 8 years ago and they were trying to fight for Britney, and the judge ended up making a call siding with Jamie Spears, saying that Britney's actions were just a cry for help, even though Britney had a voicemail asking the judge to help her. After looking into this article and seeing that, I decided to Google the judge's name, and according to uglyjudge.com, I'm not totally sure how fact-checked and well-rounded this website is, but it definitely raises a lot of concerns about this judge, because allegedly this judge tends to work on a ton of conservatorship related cases, and this website talks about how she is essentially responsible for the death of at least 2 people. One of those cases is also another conservatorship case, and she failed to allow medical treatment of someone, and then this person later died as a result, and it was confirmed by the coroner. Another conservatorship case that she worked on was when she failed to ensure justice and a fair trial, and she was aware of elderly abuse and lack of professional skills by a different judge, but she didn't do anything about it. Another person died as a result of lack of action by this judge. It goes on this website. Someone was murdered as a result of a lack of action from this judge. There were complaints filed against this judge. I'm sorry, lack of action, not allowing a fair trial. These are things that seem to be present in that case, at least from my point of view. And looking at it 8 years down the road, misjudging the situation and not putting into action actual cries for help, and putting forth something that stops people from speaking out about conservatorships that are limiting someone's freedoms. I definitely see how there were claims of corruption, allegedly. Moving on, the second judge that is more current and relevant to what's going on right now is Judge Brenda J. Penny. Although in some articles, oddly, it's Brenda A. Penny, so I'm not sure if that's like the same person or what. She was the judge in the closed court hearings that recently happened, and they were to determine the status of conservatorship that has controlled every facet of this pop princess's life for more than a decade. In September 2019, Jamie Spears asked that Jody Montgomery, who we've mentioned before, be given the power to be Britney's conservator when he stepped down because of the abuse and him being sick. The judge in this case, Judge Penny, did approve it, and a letter was also written to this judge from Britney's fans saying, in regards to your May 10th status hearing for Britney Jean Spears, we would like to bring to your attention that Miss Spears does not meet any of the criteria for general conservatorship of her person or estate. It goes on to talk about many things that we've already talked about. It lists all the people who work on her team and talks about how she did not hire or appoint any of those people, that it was all her father who did that. Judge Penny was on the court hearing in May of 2019 when Britney's mom was asking to be added. Spears' mother recently involved herself in the case, which we talked about, requesting that a lawyer appear on her behalf at the status hearing on May 10th, according to court documents. CNN cited two anonymous sources close to the singer reported that at the hearing, Spears asked the judge to consider ending the conservatorship. The judge on this case was Judge Penny. That was all happening after Britney was let out of the one-star mental health facility. So that was the time frame for that. So all of these things were being brought up, and Judge Penny wanted there to be evaluations of Britney Spears and her psychological well-being and everything to see if this conservatorship should end. I'm not totally sure what happened with her mother, if she was put on it or not. If you know, comment down below, let me know. Something interesting is that the next court hearing was scheduled for September, and the doctor who was going to do the evaluation of Britney and maybe support her father's claim of dementia, this doctor mysteriously died in August, so just a couple of weeks before this hearing. He died at the age of 48 from an aneurysm. It's just odd timing. I'm not speculating anything with that. He just, you know, mysteriously died right before he had to give any kind of thing in court. That court hearing in September of 2019 was when Judge Penny put Montgomery on the conservatorship. And this conservatorship was not ended yet because it's still going on today. This whole situation is going to continue to be talked about and needs to be talked about because on July 22nd, so a few short weeks, there will be another court hearing about this conservatorship. It was originally scheduled for April, but then because of everything going on, it was pushed to July. Hopefully we'll get more answers and this conservatorship will end and she will have her freedom back. But sign the petition down below. The petition needs 100,000 signatures to get a response from the White House. I don't know who from the White House is going to help free Britney, but sign the petition. I'm sure just having the numbers will help at least bring more attention to it. An article from May of 2020, it was written that Britney Spears has attempted to obtain more power over her life through a variety of legal steps surrounding the conservatorship, but has been met with a variety of hurdles. Earlier this year, a judge ruled that this conservatorship was to be extended until April 30th due to the fact that those around her wanted to figure out what is best for the pop star. This judge was Judge Penny, who we were just talking about. So Judge Penny determined that the conservatorship would not be ended. This was a lot. There was a lot. This video is definitely a little bit more dense than the last one. If you have anything else to mention or say or comments, I'd love to hear it. Comment down below, let me know. Let me know what you think about this whole situation. If you liked this video, it would mean the world if you could support me by subscribing. And if you want to check out my social media, here it is. So thank you guys so much for watching. Hashtag free Britney. I gotta go to bed. Good night.